Good afternoon. Let me introduce you my PhD topic, how to optimize the surgical treatment in ulcerative colitis. My name is Laura Tóth. I'm a first-year PhD student here at Center for Translational Medicine. My supervisor is Pál Miheller. My SMS is Anett Rancz. My vision is to provide the best achievable therapy to IBD patients. For that, my mission is to contribute to the clarification of some questionable parts in the surgical care of IBD patients. For that, I have two ongoing projects. Both of them is in connection with the pouch-forming surgery. My first project is to investigate the impact of obesity on postoperative complications in UC patients. This is a systematic review and meta-analysis. My co-investigator is Hajnal Székely. My statisticians are Dániel Veres and Ádám Zolcsák. Just some sentences about the background. The prevalence of ulcerative colitis is around 200 per 100,000 people per year. About 1/5 of these patients will need to have colectomy. The majority of these operations are elective. We know that in these cases, in the case of elective operation, if we could identify the risk factors, we can do rehabilitation with what we can increase the recovery. On the other hand, we can see that approximately 1 in 2 adult patients with ulcerative colitis are overweight or obese. The effect of the obesity on postoperative complications are uncertain. So our aim is to investigate the effect of obesity on postoperative complications in UC patients. Our question is whether obesity is associated with early and late postoperative complications in UC patients. We use the PICO framework for that, where P is the adult UC patients undergoing colectomy, E and C are the obese and non-obese patients, and our outcomes are the early and late postoperative complications. Our hypothesis is that obesity increases the rate of early and late postoperative complications in UC patients undergoing surgery. In this figure, you can see the effect of rehabilitation with the blue line and the cases where there were no rehabilitation with the purple. And in the case of B and D, you can see the effect of the complications to the recovery. We have 3 outcomes. From that, we have 2 finished analyses. The first is the length of hospital stay. We measured it with mean difference. We included 3 retrospective cohort studies to our analysis. The data was in mean. And the heterogeneity of these studies was quite low. This could be because the first and the second study was propensity score match studies. The overall mean difference was 0.37, which practically means to us that obese patients spend more time in hospital with an average of 6 hours. We can say that this is neither statistically significant nor clinically relevant. The certainty of this evidence is very low. In my second forest plot, you can see the complications in 30 days. We measured the outcomes in odds ratio in this analysis. We included the same 3 studies. And we can see that the overall odds ratio is 1.08. We can say that this result doesn't reach the level of statistically significance, although we can't rule out that it could have some certain clinically relevance. Our conclusion is that in this case, we don't see significant difference between the investigated groups. So the implication for practice is that the obesity with this cutoff value what we used is not a primary consideration in rehabilitation, although we can see that more investigation is needed regarding to more types of complications, stratified BMI categories, and for the long-term complications. Here you can see the strengths of our study, which is that this is the first comprehensive study in this topic from high quality articles with valuable data sets, and we use rigorous methodology. On the other hand, the low number of included retrospective cohort studies from the United States of America and the lack of separate data about the different complications and BMI categories limits our analysis. Here you can see the manuscript status and the selected journals. About our second topic, this is the comparison of the hands-on anastomosis with staple in UC patients undergoing colectomy. This is a systematic review and meta-analysis too. Just some sentences about the background. The incidence of ulcerative colitis is between 9 and 20 per 100,000 people per year. About 1/5 of these patients with ulcerative colitis will need to have colectomy. The ileal pouch canal anastomosis is the gold standard surgery for UC patients. The types of anastomosis, there are two big groups, the hands-on and the stapled one. And we can see that the development of the technique of the development of the stapled surgery, there is a shift from the hands-on to the stapled anastomotic type from around 2000. So our aim is to investigating the impact of obesity, of hands-on anastomosis, on the postoperative outcomes in comparison with stapled anastomosis in UC patients. Our clinical question is whether hands-on anastomosis is associated with fewer late postoperative complications in UC patients. We use the PICO framework for that, where the population is the UC patients undergoing proctocolectomy with ileal pouch canal anastomosis. I and C are the hands-on and the stapled anastomotic type, and our outcomes are the long-term postoperative complications and the early postoperative complications. Our hypothesis is that hands-on anastomosis is associated with fewer long-term postoperative complications, and our clinical implication is that if we are right, with the hands-on anastomosis, we can decrease the potential inflammation and malignant transformation of the pouch. Here you can see our preliminary search key, which contains 3 big domains. The first is in connection with the illness, the second reflects to the surgery, and the third is about the type of the surgery. We conducted our preliminary search in 3 big databases, and we got more than 4,000 hits. Here you can see or key articles. You can see that all of them analyze the late complications of this surgery, and you can see the shift from 1985 to 2017 from the hands-on to the stapled anastomosis type, and it is important to see that there is 2 studies from 2015 and one is from 2021. This is important to us because there is one systematic review and meta-analysis from 2006. This study focuses on the functional outcomes of the surgery, but as you can see, our key articles represent newer data than that. There is one Prospero registration from 2015, but we have no more information about that. To summarize my projects, both of them investigate some risk factors which can have an effect to the postoperative recovery, and we would like to submit these studies in this summer. I'd like to thank you for your attention with a quote from Confucius that our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Thank you for your attention.
Regarding postoperative complication in obesity, I think the major issue is that we have much more patients than for 10 years or 20 years with sarcopenic obesity. Could you analyze this factor in your meta-analysis?
Yes, we were thinking about that at the beginning of our project, but unfortunately there are not so many data on sarcopenia, on patients with sarcopenia. We would like to do some subgroup analysis, but as I see now, we don't have enough data for that. For different BMI categories and for sarcopenia too, unfortunately.
I mean sarcopenic obesity. So between the obese group, there are subgroups of sarcopenic obesity.
I see. In our studies, included studies, they not mentioned that what type of the obesity they included.